The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
This is Talkin Cowboys. Streaming live from the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
C.D. Lamb, touchdown.
Parsons has sacked it. Prescott keeps it, and he bangs it in for the touchdown.
Welcome to Talkin Cowboys, presented by Black Rifle Coffee, live from the Star in Frisco, here in the SWBC podcast studio. I am Josh Rodriguez, still filling in for Kyle Yeomans, with Nick Harris, John Machota, Isaiah Standback, and Christopher Beamer in the back. Isaiah looking very Mad Max Fury Road, steampunky. I like it.
You like that?
Yeah, I like
You
the
like
glasses.
that?
Why are you wearing the shades?
I don't know, man. Just feeling
Shades
bright,
inside because your future's so bright.
Yeah, hopefully. You never know, man. What's going on?
We got lots to talk about. Namely,
I like your intro, Josh. It kind of sounds like Bruce Buffer. It's like live from the
Live!
Star. Still the heavyweight undefeated.
You gotta test those
and
out, Jay.
new
You like
podcast
those.
host.
Those are Oxnard verified.
John,
Oxnard
I don't wear.
this
I
is
don't
the
wear
thumbnail
sun-
right
I don't
here.
wear
It's John.
sunglasses.
You don't wear sunglasses at all? What?
I don't know. I just
You got to keep them on for the show, man.
Bro, your eyeballs are going to fall off.
Did you wear these in Africa on the trip?
I did. Those were my
I was
summit
gonna say,
glasses.
You gotta. This is good protection.
Yeah,
right
those
here.
are my summit glasses right
Yeah.
there.
Thumbnail.
What a
Oh,
lovely
yeah, that's
day.
it right there. You look like a,
You got to do the full Mad Max
you
presentation.
look like a
you know what I'm
mad
saying?
scientist, bro. Ooh,
Witness
there you go.
makes.
There you go. I like it. I like it.
You know what I mean?
Let's with it.
All
We
right.
can go. All right.
All right.
What's going on,
Will
fellas?
Warham. Anyways, we got week 1 to talk about. We officially know the Cowboys' first opponent, week 1, September, I have it written down, 8th, 325 in Cleveland for Tom Brady's
The TB12?
inaugural broadcast.
Yeah.
go.
So,
How are we feeling about the Cleveland Browns?
So the first thought that popped to mind, and I'm sure it did for a lot of others, is if Tyler Guyton wins this left tackle starting job, his first assignment is the reigning defensive player of the year, Myles Garrett.
You like
hold
that?
on, hold on. The ratings.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Defending. Yeah. So that's gonna be, man. That's gonna be a welcome to the NFL moment for him. But I think on both sides of the ball, it's gonna be a challenge. Opportunity for Amari Cooper to maybe get a good game in on the Cowboys as well on his home turf, and I think it's going to be an interesting start to the year. It's interesting that they don't start on Sunday night, so they'll be able to get back at a relatively early time than they are used to in early September. But yeah, Cleveland, and then tonight we know the full schedule. Really excited about seeing what trips and what college football trips we can plan around these games and stuff like that. But it's going to be fun.
Private jet.
I think the best thing that helps them is the fact that it's early in the year against Cleveland, because you could easily have that be a December game and it could be really cold outside. And so anytime when – here's the thing, like we already know all the teams that they're playing, who they're playing at home, who they're playing on the road. So it just out of those road teams, you're just looking at it as, okay, which ones of these could be the potential bad weather games, And it wouldn't surprise me if they close the season at Philly. That's always a possibility. But I just every year when the schedule comes out, and I know the players and front office, they do the same thing. They look at what's the weather possibility. So they get Cleveland to kick off the season in Cleveland. It'll probably be decent weather. That's a win for the Cowboys.
And what was the last time we opened a season against an AFC team? It's been a while, right? The Jets?
Oh, against an AFC team. Let me do some research and let
Jacksonville?
Isaiah talk on it.
No, it's probably Jets. Maybe 11.
I mean, I
10
probably
or-
should have looked this
10
up
or 11?
myself.
I'm not a historian.
It would be
Come
10
on,
or 11.
Isaiah.
It
You
won't-
know a
it
thing or
won't-
two about a thing or two. It's always the Giants, so
Yeah, it's usually the Giants. Cleveland's a tough draw on week 1.
tough draw.
Just a tough draw. You'll find out a lot about your team that week.
Deshaun Watson starting.
I mean, yeah, Deshaun Watson would definitely be starting. He has guaranteed money. He's definitely going to be out there. But, I mean, their defense is redonkulous, as everybody knows, right? I mean,
Got him through the whole season, basically.
yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, that's in terms of a lot of the Cupid shuffle that we have going on the offensive line right now. You just alluded to, obviously, Tyler Guyton on the left side. That whole front is solid for Cleveland, and they've gotten stronger somehow, some way over the offseason. So it's going to be interesting. I look forward to it. Obviously, there's a long way to go between now. You got OTAs, you got training camp. You guys can get a lot better, but that's going to be one heck of a test. If you want to know exactly where you stand with your offensive line at the beginning of the season, well, there's no better team than than the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, at Jets in 11, and before that it was at the Browns in 08. So
Okay, all right.
I was there for that one.
And then
yeah,
Jacksonville is somewhere in there, maybe right before that.
My shoulder popped out on a blocking play for Marion Barber. I remember that.
Really?
I was blocking for Marion. He was running. You don't want to get Marion to run up your back. That's just not what you want. So I'm looking over my shoulder, and I went to go chuck the guy. You know, as soon as Marion passed me, I chuck him, and my shoulder just slips out. Oh, that was awesome.
Oh, was it just a flesh wound, right?
Yeah, just did a little spin move. It popped back in, and I kept going.
Won the game though.
Hey, let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Well, how do you guys feel about Tom Brady? Tom Brady, we just talked to him last week with the roast, but like it's his inaugural broadcast with Fox, and he also brought up the quote that he had was, "Is Dak finally going to come through?" And it he let it slip out during the announcement of his first game with Michael Strahan. I don't know, man. Like. A little more respect on Dak's name. Granted, that was his last NFL game.
I was just about to say, granted that he was the one that knocked him out of the playoffs for the final time. But yeah, I think the broadcasting aspect of Tom Brady's career is going to be fairly interesting. It's going to be heavily followed, obviously. I mean, we've seen Romo do it. We saw Witten try and do it for a year or two with Monday Night Football. I mean, former players, and it just kind of makes sense for Tom Brady to step into this role. Granted, I really liked what Greg Olsen did on the Fox broadcast. I know a lot of people feel differently, but Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady, I think that'll end up being a really good duo. I'm curious to see where Greg lands, though.
I think Tom Brady's got a pretty good sense of humor. I think the roast showed that. I thought that comment about Dak was a little...
It carried over from the roast, right?
It was very roast-like the way he did it. But I'll say this, and I don't know how many people realize this, but when you're around like a superstar, okay, like a Tom Brady, heck, like even covering this team, being around, let's say, Romo or whoever, you are... whether it's media, fans, whatever, there is just this part of you that whenever you say something like, let's say we rate jokes, like the best joke Dave Chappelle ever told, we're going to say is the 10 of the 10. The worst joke, like you have a friend of yours that is just not funny at all, is going to be a 0. When you're that famous and you're that, polarizing and that, when people are around you and you tell a joke that's a 2, they laugh like it's a 7. So what does that do to you? That makes you think you're real funny. And that's fine when you're around the people that are around you that are kind of like, wow, you're so-and-so, whatever. When you get on TV like that and start telling those jokes with a bunch of fans that don't like you because of one reason or another,
right? Like
people aren't going to think that all your jokes are that funny, and you think you're hilarious. You think like, oh, if this doesn't work out, I can do stand-up. I'm telling you, like I'll tell you guys off the air like some examples of stuff I've seen that I've been around in like walk-offs and things like that where I'm looking around and people are like roaring, laughing. I'm just like, calm down, guys. It's not that funny. You're just doing it because this person is so... I knew you'd understand what I'm saying because it's really when the cameras are off and like the person's standing around and they're telling jokes and you're just kind of like, that's like funny. And people are just rolling like it's the greatest Chappelle joke you've ever heard. You're like, calm down here, okay? It's not that funny. But when you're in that position like that and you're a Tom Brady goes to get coffee somewhere and just says some little... not even that funny little comment or what. Everybody's laughing because it's Tom Brady, you know. But I'll be interested to see how, because to do TV like that, you have to tie in some comedy. I'm interested to see how much he tries to weave that into.
I think he'll be fine there. I think the greatest critical aspect, how people are going to be critical in regards to his broadcast, is going to be his acceptance and his criticism of other players. Because for the longest, him, Bill Belichick, and you're starting to see them show their personalities now that they're outside of the game. For the longest, they were the gold standard in terms of not saying anything about anybody, right? Or just giving high accolades. Oh, they're awesome, they're great, just kind of BSing their way through the press conferences. But now, as an analyst, he's going to have to be critical. And it's like, okay, well, how critical is he going to be? Like, what is Tom Brady's standard? For people that don't know him, obviously, right? What is Tom Brady's standard for greatness? Is that a great play? Is that a bad pass? Is that a bad location? Like, how critical is he really going to be? Because his standard is so high. Is he going to try to hold everybody to that? Or is he going to give people flowers when they actually do things that are great? So that's what I'm curious to see, because I think that's where people are going to be most analytical about his analyst role.
And he doesn't even know how that's going to be yet. Nobody does, because this is what's going to happen. He will either start out not doing very much of that, and he'll hear the backlash of, come on, Tom, you got to give us more than that. You're getting $30-some million a year. We need more. Or then the other thing that's going to happen is he's going to say something about a play, and it's going to seem like a throwaway comment, but that's going to lead to like headlines the next day. Like, look at what he said about Baker Mayfield. Look what he said about whatever. Yeah. And then he's going to have to respond to that. And I mean, not respond directly to that, but in the way he does broadcast, it will impact you because there are certain things that some people they do not want to be the person that's constantly stirring up stuff. Yep. But you can be put in that position where you're just like, wow, I didn't even think that was that big of a deal. And that's getting headlines the next day. I mean, it's Tom Brady. It's the GOAT. He can say one little thing, and that could be the biggest storyline about that game the very next day.
This is true. I kind of want to see the train wreck. I want to just do bits. You know what I mean? Like just like this guy sucks or whatever, and then I don't know. I think that'd be fun. But overall, I think Tom Brady's going to be safe enough. Enough. I think like we talked about, he's kind of coming off the roast. Yeah. So maybe he has a little, a little spring in his step when it comes to like doing bits.
One other thing I'm going to add on that is that. Something he's going to do that's going to bother me because he's already started to do it a little bit is he's going to talk about how, and he's going to make it seem like he played in like the 70s with how physical the game was and how just, how the game is officiated now. It's so soft, blah, blah, blah. It's, Tom, you played as long as you did because the officials really helped you out. So you're not the guy to call this out. He's already done it a little bit.
You're not that guy, pal.
I'm interested to see how it comes in games when there's certain calls and stuff. In my day, this wouldn't have Tom, you didn't play in that day. Like, you're not, and the rules helped you. You're not playing into your 40s, mid 40s, if the rules didn't help you. So you're not going to be the guy that's going to be calling this stuff out like you're Ed Reed.
This is fair. All right, boys. Rookie minicamp happened this past weekend. Let's kind of get into that. Can we kind of explain what the rookie minicamp looks like to our fellow listeners?
I'm trying to remember who said it to me this past weekend. I think it may have been Todd Archer, but the Underwear Olympics is basically the best way to explain it. But yeah, I mean, they get these guys in the building, they sign their contracts, and they get out on the field and basically just go through a lot of install. They go through 2 walkthroughs on Friday and then 1 actual practice on Saturday. It's not padded or anything, but they'll run some plays and they'll get some routes on air and things of that nature. But for this specific draft class, it was an opportunity to see Cooper Beebe snap the ball for the first few times. It was an opportunity to see Tyler Guyton and his size and how that compares to some of the other rookies or some of the 2023 undrafted free agents that they brought in on the offensive line as well, just to kind of compare. And then on the defensive side of the ball, you get to see guys like Marshawn Nealon, Kalen Carson, Maris Luafau, just to kind of see them in action, see what their body type looks like, see how they respond to coaching. It was our first opportunity to see Mike Zimmer on the field coaching some players. So seeing that dynamic was definitely interesting. But that's basically what rookie minicamp is in a nutshell. But can't really pull a whole lot out of it on the field. But it's a really good opportunity to see initial impressions of what they are off the field. We were able to talk to all the rookies, a couple of the undrafted guys. So far, I mean, it's a pretty solid class from a media availability standpoint, which I know me and John are very, very happy about. But other than that, those are my main takeaways.
I like being on X and seeing all the other writers that cover other teams talk about like these big takeaways that they have from, and I just laugh because there's just not big takeaways to be taken from. I'm telling you, I don't care how long you played in the league, Tom Brady to Bill Belichick, whatever. Not even comparing it to this one, but I'll keep it somewhat relevant. There's nothing that happened during rookie orientation, rookie minicamp, during Micah Parsons' rookie year that you would have been like, whoa, everybody just buckle up. We might have the best defensive player in football right here. There just isn't enough to see from there. I remember watching some of that, and you were like, oh, it looks like he's going to, line it up a little bit off the edge and stuff like that. So you can take up that, like, to your point, the lining up in different spots. Like, it was good to see, like, okay, well, Cooper Beebe's clearly at center. Yeah. We think that's going to be the case, but to actually see it, Tyler Guyton's at left tackle, things like that. But in terms of, like, the work that a player's doing and projecting and what they can be, and I know it's bigger. Again, this is just following other teams and other teams' writers on X. It's definitely a bigger thing to have these big takeaways off of rookie minicamp if your team drafted a quarterback high, because all eyes are on that quarterback, and what they look like in their drills and stuff like that. So, and to be honest with you, even here, if let's say there was some kind of, stipulation where Trey Lance could have been out there because he didn't play last year or something like that, all the takeaways would have been like, what did Trey Lance look like throwing, blah, 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 blah. And they're not in pads or anything. So all it is just kind of trying to be like, hey, we were out there, so this is what I saw. But, I mean, even if you talk to former players that when they're out there, like you've seen, I mean, it's designed to, hey, this is the way we run practice. Get ready for this so when we are practicing that you're not doing the wrong thing. We need it to keep going when practice actually starts, but it's also designed like, don't get hurt out here.
It's a great way to look at conditioning too and see how these players are developing. And I don't think we're going to necessarily answer the question, is, Maris Lofau like ready to start basically with a rookie minicamp. What was your kind of experience with minicamps in general?
Man, I mean, rookie minicamps is what they just explained. You're walking around in draws.
Yeah.
And you're really seeing, how in shape guys are, the conditioning aspect. That's the real takeaway that you can have, if there is any takeaway outside of alignment and assignments. It's just, how conditioned are these guys? There's guys that come into rookie minicamp and they are out of shape and they got to get on it. Usually it's somebody that's up front or a second level guy. But, that's really the takeaway. Coaches are able to analyze where they're at. They get with the dietitians. They find out if there's anything that they need to do in that regard in terms of their health to get bigger or to drop some weight. They find out exactly where they want them at size-wise for training camp. That's when usually the time where the strength and conditioning staff is trying to analyze that with the dietitian to find out, okay, hey, coaches, where do you guys want these guys at weight-wise? I know when I came in, I was like 225. When I came in the draft. And I came in, obviously still recovering from my surgery, but from that, they were like, okay, we want you to come to training camp at 207. So by the time we finish up with rookie minicamp, OTAs, and all those things, it was like, okay, this is your report weight. So they're able to tell some of those things just to put you in the best position possible once training camp starts, but that's all it is. There's not much outside of that.
All right, boys, let's take our first break. When we come back, we have lots more to get into, actually. We have Mike McCarthy. We have coordinators availability from yesterday. We'll be right back after this break.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Black Rifle Coffee Company serves premium coffee to people who love America. When you drink Black Rifle coffee, you are directly supporting veterans, law enforcement, and first responders in your community. Black Rifle's expert roasters love coffee almost as much as Texas loves football, so it makes sense that America's Coffee partnered with America's team. Go online at blackriflecoffee.com and fuel up with the official coffee of the Dallas Cowboys. That's blackriflecoffee.com to fuel up today.
Cowboys fans, after that move, we've just coined the term Rowdy Replay. Let's roll back the tape.
Okay, there's our mascot Rowdy cheering on the boys. And now he's on his phone, on his Bank of America mobile banking app?
Staying on top of his finances with his virtual financial assistant, Erica.
Bank of America's digital tools are so impressive. Cowboys fans just can't stop banking. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/can't-stop-banking.
Erica is only available in the English language. You must download the latest version of the mobile banking app, only available on select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. Member FDIC.
Welcome back into Dear Doctor, the show where I answer life's questions with an ice-cold can of Dr. Pepper. Sheila, let's hear from our next caller, would you?
Dear Doctor, my friend supported me during a tough time. But what's the right gift that says, thanks for being a shoulder to cry on?
Okay, this one's easy. I say give her a delicious Dr. Pepper. Nothing says, thanks, girl, better than a one-of-a-kind soda. Yes, any Dr. Pepper flavor will do. Now, just a reminder that I don't need to be a real doctor to know that Dr. Pepper is the one you deserve.
Back to Talkin Cowboys.
Welcome back to Talkin Cowboys, presented by Black Rifle Coffee. This portion of Talkin Cowboys is brought to you by Quaker Oats, a super trusted superfood. Quaker Oats, the official oatmeal sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. And guess what? We have an oats update from the oat goat himself. Isaiah Stanback. Did you have your oats today?
Well, you know what, Josh? Freaking A, I did, okay? Listen here. We had a 9 a.m. show today, right? That means the kitchen usually shuts down at 9 a.m. So that means your boy got his oats in.
Shouts to the training table.
Shout out to Training Table Squad. Shout out to Beamer for changing the time to 9 o'clock. Listen up. Your boy is oated up. You understand me?
You can tell.
You can tell?
Oated.
Boy, oats on deck.
That energy.
Oats on deck. So shout out to Team Quaker Oats. Shout out to the Training Table. Shout out to Beamer in the back.
Shouts to Beamer in the back.
I wish people would have seen, like, before he walked in. I mean, Josh and I are just having a normal conversation, probably at this tone level, and he just comes in, Tasmanian Devil.
Stone Cold.
Yeah.
We knew the oats were.
Heard the glass break.
The oats had been consumed.
Smashing oat cans.
Felt good to have the oats,
for
man.
radioing.
Yeah.
It felt good to have the oats, man. Just awesome.
Good for you, man.
Sponsor's dream. Sponsor's dream.
They're just like, oh. All right, guys, we got some actual news to get into.
What's that?
It's just updates.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Mike McCarthy talked about. He was basically, he had a press conference before first day of minicamp, and then before.
It was at the end of the first day and the beginning of the second day.
Thank you. Talking about culture change and how every season the culture changes a bit. Any updates from Mike McCarthy? I mean, of course, there's not a lot to say about players individually when it comes out, when it comes to these mini camps as we discussed, but any kind of tidbits that you want to speak on?
You know what I thought was kind of interesting? I don't know if you thought this was a big deal when he said it or not, but so when Mike McCarthy took over offensive play calling, he adjusted to the offensive language that was already in place under Kellen Moore and before, because, hey, let's keep this. This is what these guys are used to. Dak's been in this offense. Let's keep the language what they're used to. So Mike McCarthy spent that offseason adjusting to what the Cowboys' offensive language was. But McCarthy said that on defense, the defense will be adjusting to the way Mike Zimmer's language is. So just because he's called stuff a certain way for a long period of time. And so because of that, I thought that was kind of interesting just because you only have one off season and it's not very long and you're on a 1-year contract. You have to have results immediately on defense to, it's different when you have 2 or 3 years left on your contract. You can kind of slowly implement some things in and maybe not, but you have to kind of throw the kitchen sink at this thing. You need this thing to be successful right away from your time playing. How big of a difference do you think that is when having an off season have to learn a different language?
Yeah, I mean, it's one heck of an adjustment, which is why OTAs is important. You need that time to get acclimated. You need that time to be with your coaching staff to get feedback, to get instant feedback, to not only go and study at your house and study, here, watch film, but also to come and do it. It's one thing to read and look at pictures. It's another thing to come in and line up when somebody says it in a huddle. So it's very important from that stance. I just had a random question pop up in my head.
Throw it at us.
Who do you guys think is the biggest advocate of change? Of culture change, players or coaches?
From last year to this year?
Just in general.
Oh, okay.
Just in general, not this team specific.
I think it has to be coaches, right?
Yeah, I agree.
It has to be coaches only because players have been dealing with culture change their whole career. When it comes to high school, college, you're looking at me and I'm like, you're looking at me like, hey, man.
No.
Did you play football?
I don't disagree.
No, Isaiah, you go ahead.
I don't disagree. I just think that there's sometimes when you add certain personnel to your team, it changes the dynamic and possibly the culture as well. You think about adding a Micah. Did he change the culture, or did Dan Quinn change the culture? You think about, adding all this beef on the offensive line now. Does that change the culture and how you approach the running game? Do you have a nastiness that's now there that you didn't have last year? I just think about it. I agree on both ends. I just wanted to know where you guys stood on it.
It's a mix, right?
Yeah.
One other thing I was going to say about the language on the defense real quick is I also think a factor in this, McCarthy didn't say this, but it's that the guy calling all of this on the field on Sundays will be Eric Kendricks, who obviously is going to be used to Mike Zimmer's language. So I think maybe that factors in a little bit too, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, and I think Eric Kendricks could kind of be Mike Zimmer's filter as well, as far as an intensity standpoint. I think that's going to be really good for the defense.
He's his translator.
Yeah, exactly. The anger translator. I think this culture change under Zimmer is going to be really good for that defensive side of the ball. And not to say that the culture under Quinn was bad, because I think it was pretty strong. You ask anybody in that room, they'll say the same thing. Quinn is very much a player's coach, and Zimmer more so has a high standard, and it's a military way of going about things. And you see some of the assistants that he brought in as well. We got our first opportunity to talk to defensive line coach Jeff Scanina yesterday, and man, you talk about intensity. That guy is
looks like G.I.
radiating intensity. He looks like Ivan Drago. I mean, he walks up with just like this swole, stance, and he was kind of mouthing with the media a little bit before he actually got on camera a little bit, and everybody was like, okay, we gotta take this a little bit easy, and we go into the availability, and I had asked him about, what's the dynamic between him and Greg Ellis, assistant defensive line coach. And he's like, well, I'm more of the loose cannon. He's more the mild-mannered guy. I'm the raging lunatic. He said that. I'm the raging lunatic, and he's more of the, communicator on that sense. And I was like, okay, have you had a moment yet with a player where you've kind of let that loose cannon go a little bit? He's like, yes, every day, every 5 minutes. And I was like, what bothers you the most? He says, everything bothers me. And so you can tell he's there, as far as intensity goes. And man, I had posted that clip on Twitter last night, and Wanye Thomas quote tweeted it and said that it's funny he walks into meetings every day and sees that a G.I. Joe character is coaching the defensive line. So
that's awesome.
I think that kind of speaks, though, to circle back to my original point, it speaks back to, I think, the culture change that the defensive staff is bringing to that side of the ball. I think it's going to be really good for that side of the ball. They need to get more physical. Obviously, they need to get bigger. That's not something that necessarily changes with culture, but I think physicality can change with culture. I think discipline, as far as penalties and lining up offsides, that can change with culture. So I'm very interested to see what that defensive product looks like next year.
See, I'm worried in the same sense, right? So first of all, I think it's hilarious.
I know why you're worried. Go ahead.
Yeah, because GE, first of all, is like the complete opposite. He is like a walking Jedi, right? He's just so calm, so zen, very just emotionally intelligent, right? And he's able to convey, communication-wise to players. It's awesome. That's going to be good in terms of offsetting the D-line coach. I am worried from the perspective of creativity. Our guys, as a player, let me just back up. As a player, when you have structure, but that structure allows for you to create, you're able to be your true self. I think that's what Dan Quinn provided. Dan Quinn provided a structure, but with underneath that structure, it was like, hey, Micah, do you, right? I'm going to put you over here. I don't care how you get there. Just get there. I wonder if these guys are going to have that same freedom under Zimmer. And I say that because, Josh, if you're supposed to get from point A to point B, like I need you to go up the outside shoulder. I need you to get up there, like don't do anything else.
Right.
Well, now I'm not me. Now I'm a robot. And yes, it might work for the scheme, but I diminish who I am as a player and as a creator using my abilities and attributes to be able to help this team. Now, yes, there might be less errors, but you get substantially less of who I am as well. And I'm concerned that might happen. I don't know. We'll see, right? Training camp will tell us a lot. But that's my concern when it comes down to having these militant type coaches, because it's like, JM, go straight there. That's it. Upfield shoulder, don't do anything. Well, okay, I can't even spin back. You know what I mean? Like I can't. What if he oversets? I can't come at it underneath? No, outside. Oh, okay.
So I think the games dictate that, though. And when I say that, I mean this in a sense of not necessarily in that game, but I mean from week to week, where we clearly saw last year at the beginning of the year that the Dak CD relationship on the field was not on the level that it could have been. And there was changes made, and they really flourished together as that season went on. So I think that it could potentially start that way.
Yeah.
But if you're not winning games, you're not playing good defense, then you're going to have to make some changes.
Absolutely.
You're going to have to allow some things. But, I mean, we could have done this whole show me personally, I feel like off of what Mike Zimmer said yesterday. His 10 minutes I thought were great just to get his perspective on different things. And he stresses the whole idea of we want guys making plays, but we don't want guys going out of their way to try and do things where it's leaving another guy open for, basically getting destroyed and allowing bad plays. And I thought we saw some of that last year. And so maybe a little bit of structure, a little bit more structure, I should say. Because that's the other thing that I battle with all this is I don't want this to turn into Dan Quinn wasn't a good defensive coordinator.
Oh, heck no.
Because that's not the case at all.
No.
If you don't think he was, then you weren't watching in 2020 because you didn't see how bad rock bottom defense can be and how in 2021, 22, and 23 how it turned around. Obviously, Micah and Quinn together a big part of that.
Right.
So I'm not saying that, but there can be some tweaks made to it.
No, that's my biggest concern, man. Because I've been in systems, I've been with coaches where it's like, do this, just how I said to do it, and
you're playing vicariously through your defensive coordinator.
You're being what they want you to be. Yeah. You're not being you.
Yeah.
You're not being you. And it's not until you get with a coach, and I think it's actually in the reverse, right? Sometimes we see players start with that type of coach, and then they go to a new team or a new coach comes in, and now they're able to do what they've always wanted to do. Go be who you were in college. All right, bet. Let's go. I'm going to get to make plays again. Now it's in the reverse. And players are going to have to adjust to that, seemingly, right? Dan Quinn gave you that freedom to go out there and just create. And yes, sometimes it leaves voids, but you get some amazing plays out of it as well because you see some creativeness out of Micah and D-Law and all these other guys are able to run around and kind of go rogue at times. That's what makes players players. But now those guys have that freedom, and now that freedom's seemingly being taken away. So now what do you get?
I think there's probably a healthy balance you can find there between structure and freedom, because I think there's a lot of truth to the sense that maybe there was a little bit too much freedom at times last year. Having Leighton Vander Esch come off the edge, or I think Micah Parsons over center worked, but that's just an example. But you look at the drafting of Marshawn Nealon, and you look at DeMarcus Lawrence. These are two guys that are 265-pound plus ends that you could put on either side of the ball to stop the run, and you were worried last year about teams running at Micah. Well, now you got two guys on the ends, and if you still want to do the Micah over center thing, you can still do that and have him attack the passer. Right. So you're accounted both ways. So I think there is still a need for that freedom in some sense, but maybe there's a healthy balance you can find somewhere with it.
The other thing is too is like, I really don't care if the players enjoy playing. Like, I don't. Like, and the only reason I say this is because and
hot take.
You're a perfect person to ask. You're a perfect person to ask, because do you think everybody loved playing for Bill? Sure wasn't a lot, though.
No.
Sure wasn't a lot, though.
Yeah.
Because I would use him as an example of a coach that during that run, 6 championships in 2 decades, I mean, hell of a dynasty he had going there. No. I would make the argument that of all sports, he's probably the coach that players probably like playing for the least. But when you're winning on Sundays and you're hoisting trophies,
so
got to kind of fall in line.
To address that point, Coach Belichick is definitely, I don't want to call him a militant, but you do what you're supposed to do, right? DYJ. Right. DYJ, do your job. That's his thing, right? DYJ, all day long. However, he was a mastermind in putting you in position to do what you do best.
Sure.
Right? There's players that you guys never even heard of, and all of a sudden they're out there starting and making plays on a Sunday, and just because he knows how they fit best in that system against that particular opponent. Right? Their assets are going to work well against this opponent, right? And then you won't see them again for 4 weeks. Right? They'll be on the sideline chilling.
Jones.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I don't know going into this year that Zimmer's going to do that.
Right.
Right. I get the sense, and I don't want to put this off on him. I have to wait and see. I get the sense that it's like, okay, be who I'm telling you to be, and trust that the system is going to work.
I just hate bringing in Micah and Lawrence and Diggs and some of these guys into this conversation, because they're superstars. They're going to be allowed to flourish. You know what I'm saying?
You would think.
But where I'm coming from, too, is I can take a step back from a guy maybe having a couple less interceptions, a couple less sacks, if that means you're winning games in January.
I agree. I don't disagree with that.
I can't think of anybody.
No, I
can't think of a single coach in any sport, not the Phil Jacksons, anybody, that you've heard more players that played for him, their championship level, that have been like, yeah, it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun when it's going on. I'm glad that we won these championships, but in the heat of the battle, it was not fun. During the week, in games, things like that, like, it wasn't the most enjoyable experience. And I mean, just look at Bill. There was plenty of times during that run where I from afar was like, does he even enjoy this? Like, they're winning all the time, and it's just like on to the next thing.
Yeah, that's exactly next. Yep.
You had mentioned Diggs and Bland, and I think from a secondaries perspective, I've been trying to find where the biggest change probably will be under Zimmer versus Quinn. I don't really see a ton of major change. I mean, they're going to run man coverage, top 5 in the league probably. Might not be number 1 like they were last year as far as man coverage usage, but they'll be top 5. They'll be pressing. They'll be running a lot of cover 1, cover 2 shell looks. I think from a secondary perspective, things will look fairly similar. Now, how many safeties will you rotate in versus how Quinn did? Maybe that's probably where you see a little bit of change, because you have to account for that extra linebacker. But I think most of the change will come up front, and what they will be told to do up front in their pass rush moves.
Agreed.
And I mean, Micah Parsons is such a unicorn in some sense as far as how he can get to the quarterback, but also how can you start maximizing him later in the season? I think that's something that this coaching staff will have to be able to figure out and try to do, and later in games as well. So I think that's probably where you're going to see the biggest changes in that front 7.
You could see a very productive Micah Parsons in December and January, that he looks like the Micah Parsons in September. Everything else will fall into place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because like, that's just have him wrecking games like that.
Yeah,
everything else will take care of itself.
Does the new defensive scheme kind of lead to a dip in turnovers, you think?
I'm curious of Isaiah's take on this, because I'm not bought in on that yet. Why is that?
I think so. I think that you'll get a lot more 3 and outs, just because of the structure there, right? There's less ability for teams to catch you slipping, right? So, you might have guys that have the freedom, or you might be a little bit more aggressive up front, and that leaves a void. So, they got us, right? We were real close, right? We're real close. We almost got the sack. I think you'll see possibly less of that. Again, this is all speculation.
Of course.
I think you might see less of that, but you'll see I think you'll also see less turnovers because I don't believe that guys are going to be allowed to just go be themselves. And I'm truly concerned about that. Like,
especially coming off of Quinn.
Yeah, like Quinn, like be you. Like that was a culture, right? Be you. Like I'm gonna put you out there. You can sauce him up however you want to. I don't care if you go outside. I don't care if you go inside. Just win, right? That's not gonna be the case anymore. Stay outside. Don't let anybody. No outside contain. Don't let nobody outside at all, right? And it's like, well, I could have went inside and could have got him under Quinn. And again, this is just me speculating, but that's I've been, and I'm speaking from experience where you weren't allowed to be, right? And you literally turn into a robot and you start checking the box. And when you're checking a box as a professional athlete, it's not good.
And hey, I get it. I know it's a players' league. I mean, hey, just look at the paychecks. You know who the whole deal is built around. I get that. I'm just saying that from 28 years of not getting close to hoisting another Lombardi, if you're going to tweak some things, you got to tweak some things because it's not like you're just riding this thing. We're like, no, we got this figured out. Let's just keep doing what we've been doing. There's got to be some changes in there, but yeah, I think there's got to be a balance.
There has to be. Yeah.
I don't think that you can go, and I don't get the sense that Mike Zimmer is going to be that way. Where like the extreme, where it's just like, no, you will only do it this way because it's my way. I don't think anybody can coach that way today in sports.
For sure.
I don't think anybody can do that.
Correct.
22 years as a defensive coordinator or head coach, 6 times his teams have ranked in the top 10 in takeaways. I feel like that's fairly fascinating, and did it quite a few times in Minnesota.
It was interesting him saying
like
yesterday.
27%, something like that, 28% of the time.
He said yesterday, I thought it was interesting, was when he goes, usually when I come in to coach a defense, it's to fix it because it's been bad. He's like, and this isn't the case here. It's basically, you got to make some tweaks to it in that, but it's like he rarely in his past has taken over a defense where it's like, man, there's already, good players on the back end. You got question marks at linebacker, but there's certainly potential there.
Yeah.
And then I just, as negative as anybody wants to be about the Cowboys, there's too much talent for this team to be bad. That's just the way I look at it. I mean, like you look at that defensive line, they need help at defensive tackle, don't get me wrong. But there's still like some really good pieces there that any team would be tickled to have any of these guys, So,
and I don't think anybody's arguing about regular season wins. I don't think like our expectations are so different now. Like it's just about the playoffs. I think the regular season wins will be there regardless. It's just about how we perform in January.
They can go 17-0 and rank number 1 in turnovers.
Just thinking that.
Like,
yeah,
you're 100% right. You're 100% right.
All right, boys. We need to take our last break. Fans, please text us. It is the text line. If you want to send in your questions, it's 817-290-3298. We'll be right back after this.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag & Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag & Turf, the official Ag & Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
Are you ready to take coffee off your grocery list forever? Black Rifle Coffee Club is here to help. As a coffee club member, you'll get your favorite coffees roasted, packaged, and shipped to your door free of charge on your preferred schedule. Set it, forget it, and never run low on coffee again. Members also get exclusive deals on coffee, products, and discounts from partner brands. Ease your mind and let Black Rifle worry about your coffee supply. Go to blackriflecoffee.com to join the coffee club today.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
Welcome back to Talkin Cowboys, presented by Black Rifle Coffee. This next segment is brought to you by Invisalign, the official smile of the Dallas Cowboys. Isaiah with the pearly whites yet again. Right. Boys, breaking news. The Giants' 100th season to begin on Hard Knocks. Hard Knocks.
Really?
Yep.
That's bold of them.
For the New York Giants.
It's an off-season edition of Hard Knocks, which is fascinating. So I'm curious how they integrate all of that.
Very bold of them.
Yeah.
A lot of change going on over there.
Yeah.
New quarterbacks.
It's a lot of change to be welcoming a camera crew in for everything that you're doing.
They got an interesting head coach too.
Yeah, Dable.
Yeah, 100%.
We're gonna watch it.
Yeah, maybe.
You have to.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe so.
Speaking of watching, what are y'all's plans for the for the schedule release tonight?
Yeah, my plan is
the cold one with the boys, I'm sure.
Yeah, just to have something ready, I guess, whenever it pops. Say what?
So you got to type.
Yeah, I got to type. Yeah, I got to. I'm going to be typing up articles in the parking lot of a concert venue, and then once I'm done, going into a concert. So that's my plan. Okay. So I'm planning on getting into that parking lot at about 5:30, get ready to roll, and then plan on being there for a couple hours in my car, just marinating.
That's work ethic right there.
What about you, John? Now it's such a big thing, the schedule release.
So. I really feel like I've seen it over the last 5 or 6 years, keep growing every year until this national holiday. But I'm fortunate. My teammate, Saad Youssef at The Athletic, said he wanted to write off of the schedule thing. And I was like, that's all yours. Go for it. He's like, I really like the schedule part of it. And
can't wait for the social media team.
I'm like, yeah, go for it. You know? Yeah, that's a good point, too, man. Like, I mean, maybe I'm trying to think. To me, the best schedule reveal thing was when Tennessee, I think a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it was last year. Yeah.
Was it last year?
Yeah,
okay.
It was.
Yeah, just ask random
that was awesome.
people on the streets if they knew these certain teams and stuff like that. And then, I mean, it was just very random. But obviously the Cowboys always do it big. All their schedule releases are, they'll get actors or Post Malone and things like that. So it is crazy because it's not like it wasn't that big of a deal.
Oh, no. It's a competition now between social media teams.
Yeah.
It keeps getting.
It's a guaranteed viral moment, basically.
For sure.
It's like you're
if you get it right.
If you get it right.
It was funny. I was in the barber chair yesterday, and he kind of like spun me around in front of the TV, and I look, and it was NFL Live, and Derek Eagleton was on.
I saw him. I saw him too.
Shouts to him.
It was Derek Eagleton, and then Brittany Johnson was in there, and then Drew Ferguson, and they were all talking about the aspect of the social media part of it, and trying to make the best product, the most creative product, and things like that. But they interviewed like some Chargers guys, some Jets guys, I think. But yeah, heavy representation from inside this building, and I was just sitting there. You ever seen that meme? It's like they don't know that's my boss. It's like that was me. It's like
I
they
saw
don't know
DE on there. I said the same thing.
Shouts to him. All right, boys. We got to wrap it up here in a second.
No.
We do. We got another show after this. All right. Really wanted to ask, when it comes to the schedule, is there an AFC team you're least looking forward to playing? Those are always like the ones that I look out for when it comes to the schedule. It's like, okay, who are we playing in the AFC? Because those are just like you don't get to see them very often,
No, this is so easy.
Go ahead.
Like if you're a Cowboys fan, I mean, you really want to see Lamar Jackson running around?
Yeah, I was about to say.
He's like,
even if it is at
you
home.
can question whatever you want about him in January. Regular season, Lamar Jackson is a problem. So that, to me, when I saw the schedule, that's the number one.
Just a guaranteed L.
I mean, I will say that there are ones. No, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that you don't have to go back that long to see Josh Dobbs running around. And,
I always look at the schedule.
Josh Dobbs, so,
I always look at the schedule with like W's and L's in mind. You know what I mean? And not that I'm writing them down necessarily in like a Sharpie, but I'm just like, you know what I mean? Like that's one that's like.
I'll say this. Hopefully that Baltimore game, for the Cowboys' sake, hopefully that Baltimore game is later in the season than earlier in the season. You would like to have Overshown healthy and ready to go to be a spy on Lamar, and you would hope that's after the end of October.
Is that your pick as well?
Yeah, it would have to be. I'm thinking about like the road challenges. You would have to go to Pittsburgh and Cleveland, but
yeah, I don't think it's that
Baltimore.
bad this year. I mean, depending on weather-wise, when I look at the road schedule, I don't look at it as I have in some years past, where I'm like, oh, that one's gonna be.
Yeah.
Baltimore just I don't know.
San Francisco.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. San Francisco, but San Francisco they can play anywhere, and I don't really like their chances. So.
I really don't want to see CJ Stroud. I'm not.
Yeah. That game's got to be on Thanksgiving, right? It's got to be.
Yeah.
It's got to be.
Breaking
news. Too much sense. I don't know anything. But I've been campaigning for that for a couple months. I just think that would be so much fun. Houston versus Dallas, Stephon Diggs versus Trayvon Diggs. Make it happen.
And Micah versus
Hopefully
CJ.
it happens this time.
Micah versus CJ. Yeah, they're basically family now. They may as well be.
They tried to set it up last year. It didn't work.
Yeah.
What about you, Isaiah? Who are you least looking forward to playing in the AFC?
I think that Baltimore and Houston both of those cats are tough, but Cleveland to me is for week 1 is tough.
Yeah.
Cleveland week 1 is tough.
Yeah.
Cleveland they're not a flashy team.
Yeah.
But they get the job done.
If it was week 14, would you feel differently?
I would, because I would know more about what they have going on.
Week 1 at Cleveland or week 1 at Philly, which one would you not want to see more?
Week 1 at Cleveland.
I agree. It's because of Miles Garrett. Like you tell me Miles Garrett's off the field, then I would say.
But the whole defense is solid.
Yeah, it's really good.
You know what I'm saying? Like the teams that are not very flashy, but seemingly are always up there in the statistics. Like those are the teams you got to worry about because they're not making a ton of mistakes. So to me, Cleveland is dangerous outside of Baltimore. And Houston, that just depends on where you at.
And last question, really, really quick. NFC East team you do not want to see in Week 18. Virtually, we always play
Eagles at Philadelphia.
Yeah. Eagles at
That's
Philadelphia.
Their toughest road environment is playing at Philly.
I feel like that's going to be unanimous.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to see them.
You
Philly,
play at
week
Philly
18.
in Week 18. There's going to be a playoff layover.
And I think Dan Quinn could get stuff rolling in the right direction in Washington. I just don't know if it'll be in one season.
I think Washington's going to be a lot better than people portray them to be.
Yeah,
I really think they're going to be really competitive this year. I don't think they're going to have the whole quarterback thing figured out, all the way, but I think they have
playoff team.
I think they're going to be in that conversation.
Bubble.
I really think they're going to be in the conversation. I know people are looking at me like I'm crazy. I've been hearing that.
I don't understand how anybody could look at you like you're crazy. If that is the case, that's 2012 with Robert Griffin Jr.
Between their draft and their offseason veteran acquisitions, the blend of those two with that coach, it's concerning.
I don't want to see Biotish up the middle, man. It's going to be tough. All right, boys. Thank you so much. We'll be back next Tuesday at 10 a.m. We got Mick Shots coming up next, and then the break at 11 a.m.
Nick!
For Isaiah Standback, John Machota, Nick Harris, Chris Beam in the back. I'm Josh Rodriguez. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next week.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!